Okay, Be'ezrat Hashem. So we continue with Perek Bet and Pasuk Dalet. Pasuk
We did Hey.
Imtivakshina. We didn't do Imtivakshina Kakesef. We read it.
We read it, but we didn't finish
it. We did not get into it. So, as just a little recap, yes, Shlomo HaMelech tells us that if you address and approach the Torah as a source of life and as important to you, just like life is, and that's imtikach, right? You take with you. You take with you what's a part of you. Amarai, the Torah. Umitzvotav tispon itach, and when you learn practical halacha, you keep it safe and well stored and well remembered, okay, well categorized in your head, so that when the practical opportunity to do the mitzvah comes, you know how to implement. Lehakshiv lachochma oznecha tate libecha latevuna, right? He says, pay attention. You need anava, humility, to be able to become a vessel to receive the chochma, to receive the wisdom from your Rav, from the source of chochma. And through the tevuna, you have the ability now to make sure that the information the Chacham wants to give you is intact and not just the way you want to understand it. And that's the tevuna that actually comes from the Bina. Yeah, we spoke about it. It comes from the Bina, but it allows you to really understand properly what the Chacham, the source of Chokhmah, wants to teach you, and not just what you think you understood from it. And that allows the transfer of information of Chokhmah to be intact, pure, and complete. The Gaon goes all the way to the point. I don't know if we mentioned it in the show. I think it's a nice emphasis is that more than just understanding the information of the Chacham, you understand what's in his heart. What does that mean? Is that you're able to give life to the life of the Chacham into the information the Chacham gives you, which is a tremendous dimension in your ability to then really grasp what we're trying to convey. Because the information can be dry and can be blunt. But when you understand when the person comes from, what's in his heart, when he says what he says, then you actually give life to that information and can approach it now with a different angle, right? And now you have depth into the information that is being taught. And that's the ki'im labina tikra latevuna titen kolecha. So he says also you have to read the bina. Now you have a complete information that has a dimension, which is called what the tevuna does to the chokhmah, right? So now it's not what you think you understood, but what was taught to you. Then you can approach it with the bina, right? The ability to understand, to analyze and understand in between the lines what you were taught, and that you do it through the kriya, by reading it, by putting words to it, by being able to say it over. It gives you the ability to now trigger your bina, trigger your analytical strength, and start breaking down the information and organizing it in a way that now makes more sense, that it is more accurate to you. And then comes the tevuna of the bina, right? Which will again allow you to make sure that what you broke down, what you zoomed in, is again accurate and a piece of puzzle that actually fits the knowledge of the Chokhmah. So you're breaking it down and you can now put it back together, right? So if you take the example of the puzzle, for example, the big image of the puzzle is the Chokhmah, right? Breaking it down is the Binah. The Tevuna is the ability to put it back together. And the Tevuna of the Chokhmah is to understand, when you look at the image, you really understand the vibe of the image, which will help you when you break it down and put it back together, find your way to put the pieces right together. That's last week's shiur. So continues Shlomo HaMelech and says the following: Im tevakshena chakasef, if you will it like money, like silver, vechamatmonim, and like treasures, techapesena, you look for it. As then, and now the then goes back to everything that has been said since the beginning of the Perek, right? From the Pasuk Rishon. Benim tikach hamara vechule, right? As tavin yirat Hashem, then you will understand the fear of God, or what fear of God means, of how to use fear of God. We're going to see the da'at Elokim, and the da'at of the angels, timtza, right? You will find, and we're going to get to all this. Ki Hashem yitel chokhmah, because the chokhmah is given by God, mipiv, and from His mouth, from the mouth of God, da'at u'tvuna, comes the da'at and comes the tevuna. Okay. So now back to pasuk he. Im tevakshena chakasef, if you will it, if you want it, if you ask for it. Bakasha is to ask for it, right? Chakasef, like money. Vechamatmonim techapesena, and you look for it like a treasure. So teaches us the Gaon. He says, Bakasha, when you ask for something, usually you ask for something that you don't know where it is, or that you lost. Have you found this? Right? Where is it? Ayehu, where can I find it? Now that's the bakasha. Kesef, a person looks for opportunities to do business. He doesn't know what he's going to find, but he's looking. When a person that is a merchant, right, goes to try to buy merchandise, maybe he knows the type of merchandise he wants to buy, but practically he doesn't know what he's going to buy, right? Today we have the shows in Las Vegas. So you go and you look at what is going to be offered for the year. At the time, there was nothing like that. You go you go to Persia to look for fine fabrics, silks and rugs. You don't know what you're going to find. And along the way, you go, you find things, and you buy, 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 until you feel that you have enough. And then you go back to your hometown or to the areas where you sell, and you start selling the merchandise. All this effort for what? To make money. So it's a long journey, right? Still a long journey today. You wake up in the morning, you go to the office, and you look for opportunities. Is there a real estate opportunity? What's for sale? Is there something to? We don't know what's going to fall in your lap, but you keep on looking. What is the motivation that drives us to keep on looking? To make money. So essentially, what drives us in the morning to do all these efforts and expose ourselves, money. It's money. So says Shlomo HaMelech, if you look for the Torah like you look for money, like money, not like money, meaning your motivation to find the Torah, to learn Torah, to be exposed to source of Chokhmah is at the same level as you want money. Big statement, very big statement, right? Because what that means is that, and that's the barometer, okay, is when you don't find it, how much does it bother you, or how at unease are you, or how worried are you? I don't know how many people are worried because they didn't learn their Gemara, or they didn't learn their halacha, or they don't have a relationship with the Chacham. I don't have. I didn't look much. I'll learn it later. I'm learning tomorrow. But when you're not making money, you feel it, and you lose sleep over it, and you're like, "Wow, I need to make sure that I." And sometimes it's not even to pay bills; it's just to feel satisfied. I need to know that I'm making business. I need to know that I'm a hunter. So if you really want to know where you belong in the Torah, you compare that emotion when you don't. Here we're talking about learning Torah. We're talking about the Chokhmah, right? When you don't learn. So say Shlomo HaMelech, this is your barometer. And another thing tells us the Gaon. If you don't have the motivation to go out of your way, leave your comfort zone, to go find the Torah, just like you do when you look for a deal, right? For a deal, you wake up in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, you run to the airport, you jump on a flight, you make sure to be dressed, and you pray in the lounge, or you just to make sure you get to the meeting on time, and then you get on the meeting, and then you come back, or you drive hours. I need to go see a property 2 hours away. You're going to drive the 2 hours to go to the middle of New Jersey to look for that property and see it and analyze it. Yeah, I want to see you drive 2 hours to listen to a show of Torah. This is your barometer. How uncomfortable are you really to make yourself to actually learn Torah? This is a way. This is This is another element needed to get to right? So this is part of the ingredients needed. And you have to look for it. So the first one is to will it like money, right? And we identified and explained what it means to want it like money. And then you have to look for it like a treasure. Now, when you look for it, when you look for something, when you look for a treasure, you have an idea of where that treasure is, more or less. You don't run like a chicken without a head. You know, there's a treasure in there. You know, have a map. You know those maps of the pirates, and it shows you. And if you go to that island and you go to that place next to that tree, more or less, right? the treasure, and the treasure is hidden. It's hidden for a reason, and usually it's buried in the earth, and you have to look for it. And that mamash, that's what the Gaon tells us. He's like, you have to be very practical with the words Shlomo used. He says the Gaon, once you find it, you dig, and you get yourself dirty. You get dirty. Huh? He says that's v'chamatmonim techapesena. When you really want Torah and you really look for it, you know more or less where you're going to look for it. You need to know from where to get your Torah, and Khalila, from where you're going to get confused, or you're going to get, that's not Torah. He says the same thing is the mitzvot. The mitzvot, if you don't have a clear understanding of what's expected from you, when the moment comes and you need to do the mitzvah, you're confused. You don't know. You fall. You fall, not because you want to fall, just because you're not prepared well enough. So says the Gaon to something nifla. Says Shlomo Melech again, just like we learned in the previous shiur. You need to have the willpower. You need to have the desire for the Torah. But you then have to translate it into practical actions. How does that Torah becomes an actionable mitzvah that I can do when the time comes? How do I apply it? Whatever the Torah is. Now, you still don't know where you're going to apply it. But when it comes, it comes. So he says the mitzvah has to be to you like a treasure. He said that you have to keep it itzpon itach, right? You have to hold it. You have to hold it, and at mitzvotat itzpon itach, you have to hold and put in a vault the mitzvah, even though you haven't applied it yet. So you don't know practically what you're going to be doing, but you have an idea more or less of what is needed and what is expected from you. He said, if those lessons, those resolutions, those conclusions are kept like a treasure, when the moment comes, you will have some clarity to know and go dig and bring out from your memory what you have learned and be able to now implement it. Says this is what Shlomo HaMelech wants to teach us. Im tevakeshena kakasef, v'chamatmonim techapesena.
Those words are in Shir HaShirim too.
No, not those specific words.
Techapesena? No.
Techapesena? No, that's Mishlei. But well, maybe similar. So, what do we see? We see that chokhmah, knowledge, or the willpower to want to know Torah will identify and determine your ability to do mitzvot. Because if you don't have this willpower, if you don't have, or whatever, depending on how much desire how much will you have to learn the Torah, that will define how much mitzvah you can or practical mitzvah you will remember, and that will be your what you will have at your disposition when the mitzvah comes to you, right? So the action at the end of the day, the way you're going to do the mitzvah will depend on how much you wanted to learn Torah. Because if you learn Torah and you don't get to the bottom, to the practical mitzvah, that's also not good, right? That's the last few. So if you want to live a life of accurate actions in the eyes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you need to develop an eager desire, a strong desire to want and learn it, and be ready to put yourself in the most uncomfortable situation and go out of your way and know where to get the Torah, just like that merchant that's willing to travel all the way to wherever.
So it's exposure.
Exposure. It's exposure.
That creates the desire.
It's vulnerability. It's fight, ready to fight. It's mamash. It's simple. It's exactly the feeling you have in the morning to get out of your bed, go to work, and fight to make sure you can find a deal and make the deal happen. That determines how you live your life as a Jew. So when somebody comes and says, just give me the final item, like I don't do. That is not the way we live life as a Ben Torah, as a Jew.
Let's counter to the purpose of the mitzvah. The mitzvot are there to create an emotional connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right?
Yeah.
To understand his ways so that we can love him.
Nachon.
And you can't, if it's a burden, you're not desiring it.
Nachon.
You're doing it because you think you have to.
And I mean, even more so. If you do it and you don't know what you're doing, then you're completely out of it.
Missing the point.
You're missing the point. You have nothing to relate to.
And harder to unravel.
Much harder. Much harder. So essentially, comes Shlomo HaMelech and tells us, if you really want to live a life like a proper Jew, make sure you put your effort in how much you desire the Chokhmat Torah. Big chidush. It's so beautiful. Now you understand also why the Talmidei Chachamim, the Bnei Torah, put such an emphasis and a central role in the learning of Torah.
And the struggle in it.
And the struggle in it. Because people, okay, give me the mitzvot, let me do this, or I want to be practical. Okay, Baruch haba. I want to be practical. You want to be practical? Great. But if you don't have the desire, then you cannot pass it on. There's no way you become a link to convey to the next generation what you're doing. They're going to see it as an action, and they're going to translate it in their own way, which is going to be distorted. And from that,
Shlomo HaMelech is saying it has to be absorbed by you. It can't just be something you do. It has to become you.
It has to become you.
And that's
the absorb is step 2. Step 1 is this source of power, this desire that is born within you. And it starts with what?
The inside out.
Exactly. It starts with
outside in.
The understanding and the acknowledgement and the embracing that Torah is like air, is as important as air and as oxygen. And there's no way I can live without it. And this is what I carry with me all the time. And what I thought, we are human, we have to live, we have to do parnasah, we have to eat, we have to have social life. All this we understand. But the core essence, what motivates, what gives me life, what is my life, is Torah. Is the Torah on a spiritual level, just like oxygen. Once you have that, then you can implement what Shlomo Melech is telling us now. That if you will it, like you will the money. So when you wake up in the morning, the same way you will have that desire to go and fight and find a deal and make a deal, and that you will have that same desire for the Torah. And you're going to need your Torah, you're going to need your knowledge, you're going to need your kirva, and the more of that you have, the more you use your chokhmah and your bina, your tevuna and your bina and your tevuna to break it down, understand the practical lesson. It's important to you. You know why it's important to you? Because money is important to you. And it came from the same inception, from the same root. So it's as important to you on a spiritual level. So you're going to keep it. And you're not going to learn something, I completely forgot, I don't know what it is, can't remember. You know, that many times people go to shiurim, they leave, ask them what they learned. They love it. Huh? They love the shiur. They come out of it, they're on high. Okay, tell me what was the show. He's going to give you, let me think, I don't know. That's what I remember. You know, that's not how you learn Torah. So that's through the chokhmah, through the bina, through the tvuna of both, you categorize it. It's important because that's what you wake up with. That's what you thrive for. That's what you're thirsty of.
The foundation that you have going into it will dictate how you end up with it.
Exactly. And will dictate essentially how you behave.
We learned it in the parasha this week too. Kashrut and what it does to a soul that comes.
Yes.
And the foundation that it has in the ability to receive spirituality for a person for the rest of their life.
That's on a physical level, you're right. It starts with that. It starts with what you eat, because based on what you eat, it will determine your nefesh and if your ability to thrive, to want, absorb it, etc. I'll tell you more. It's so beautiful what you're saying, that the Or HaChaim HaKadosh, at the end of the parasha, says, Ki ani Hashem ha'ma'aleh etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim. He says, why does he say ha'ma'aleh etchem, that I elevated you from Egypt, and not took you out? Asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim. Should say, Asher hotzeti etchem, I took you out of Egypt. What do you mean I elevated you from Egypt? He says, because the food, right? It's in the parasha of the food that we eat. He said the food elevates you to a level of a Jew. However, if a person eats non-kosher, sheretz, for example, says the Or HaChaim HaKadosh, it throws him back, the person before Yetziat Mitzrayim, to the level of a Ben Israel before they got out of Egypt. And says the Or HaChaim HaKadosh, ve'en lo takana, there is no way to fix that. And I'll give you, and we spoke about it, if you recall, in Shir HaShirim, I gave you the story that Rabbi Akiva Iger brings with the candy. Bravo.
You don't remember something, you must be ate something, and he remembered it as a kid.
That somebody came to Rabbi Akiva Iger and asked him a question. He said, I'm learning Torah, I cannot remember. Everything I learn, I forget. How is that possible? So Rabbi Akiva Iger says, you eat kosher? He says, all my life. He says, you never ate non-kosher? He says, when I was a little kid, once I remember I had a non-kosher candy. Says Rabbi Akiva Iger, this is why. This is the impact the non-kosher candy has on you. So in Achinami, you're right. It's perfect. It fits perfect. It's like, well, we have a beautiful hidush that Stanley added. It says that along with everything the Gra and is teaching us in Mishlei, the prerequisite, you know, you have the kindergarten, you have the pre-kindergarten, that to all this is to make sure that that you eat proper food, that you eat kosher, because that's what will set whether you have right? The food makes that you eat will or elevate you or make your heart atum, like sealed like a rock. Nothing comes in. Even the rock, the things come in. It's worse than a rock. Because the rock, you have the tiftuf. Lemaise, the Torah, it's like a rock, because the Torah eventually can open that heart. But says the Orach Chaim HaKadosh, this is how terrible it is. So, now, right? If you have that willpower, and yes, emet, Stania will say it now in your name. You have it by eating kosher, you can and making sure you eat proper food and you don't eat salads that have bugs and think that when you go out and you eat salad, it's kosher, because it's not kosher. Or if you eat the broccoli that is full of bugs or things like this, just make sure when you eat food that are clean, okay, with the proper hechsher. And when you eat the meat, it's the meat from a proper hechsher. Then you're able to will the Torah like you will money. And then you're able to wake up in the morning and run after the Torah, your shiur Torah, just like you run to make a deal. And it's as vital to you as it is to make money. And if you don't have your Torah, you feel bad. It's just like you missed the deal and you're upset about it. You should be upset of not being able to learn your Gemara or whatever. But then you take that Torah, like we said, and you crystallize it, you understand it, you package it, and it's so important to you because of the way you started, right? The way you want it. So it becomes important, it becomes a treasure, and it's kept close to your heart, so that when the opportunity comes to do the mitzvah, boom, you jump on it, and you make it, and now the mitzvah is not just a dry action, but it comes with all its flavor. It comes with all its emotions, all the halachot that you learn, and the depth of chokhmah that's in it. So now when you eat matzah, after you understand matzah, it's no longer just a dry matzah. It comes with all its beauty, all its taste, its flavors. As only then, Tavin Yirat Hashem, you will understand the fear of God. V'da'at Elokim timsa, and you will attain the knowledge of Hashem.
Why do we say Reshit Chochma Yirat Hashem? Is this saying the opposite?
But that's in a
no.
Yes, we're going to get to it later on. It's not opposite. It's just that in the way he's building right now, the Mishlei is building his teachings. Yes, he starts from before that. This is Reshit Chochma is in a different context.
Okay,
it's in a different context. That we will touch on it. So after we do all this, Tavin Yirat Hashem, you will understand Yirat Hashem. V'da'at Elokim timsa, and you will attain the knowledge of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Says the Gaon Mivilna, V'da'at Elokim. Elokim in this sense is Elohim, and it's referred to the angels. Angels are called Elohim. Right? The Rambam brings it in the Sefer HaMoreh, in the first Shar Perek Bet. Right? Elohim can be Malachim, it can be judges, it can be the source of power of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In this case, says the Gaon, What does it mean? You understand the knowledge of the angels. You're able to understand the secrets of the creation. You're able to now have such a clarity and such a fine assessment of knowledge that you are open now to the secrets of the creation. Dehainu, Torah Tasot, Torah Kabbalah, Maaseh Bereshit, Maaseh Merkava. And the Gaon explains. Chachamim teach us, Imen Yirah and Chokhmah. If there's no Yirah, there's no fear, there's no Chokhmah. Ve'imen Chokhmah and Yirah.
They're mutually dependent.
They're dependent. Bidyu. Ve'imen Da'at and Bina. If there's no Da'at, there's no Bina. Ve'imen Bina and Da'at. בסדר? משנה אבות. פרקי אבות. So he explains that what brings you to the Chokhmah is the Yirah. When you fear to make a mistake, when you fear to upset, when you fear to fail, it drives you to want to learn. The more you learn, and the more you know what not to do and how to do things better. So the more you care about failing, the more you care about doing something wrong, it drives in you the desire to want to learn more. And he brings a Gemara. It's in Brachot. The Gemara says, Tanu Rabbanan, Asur lo la'adam she'yeneh min ha'olam hazeh belo beracha. A man is not allowed to enjoy this world without making a beracha.
It's like stealing.
It's like stealing. He transgressed. He disgraced. He disgraced the kavod of God. He disgraced God. So the Gemara says, "My takanate." So what? Okay, so he fell. What should he do not to fall? So the Gemara says, go to the Chacham and he's going to teach you berachot. He will tell you what so that he doesn't get to make actions of transgress. He doesn't transgress the kavod of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So it's clear that not to make mistakes, right? You go to the Chacham, correct? So what gets you to the Chacham? The desire not to make mistakes. So the fear of failure is what triggers the desire of learning wisdom, of learning Chokhmah. Now, essentially, the fear of failure, when you dig in deeply, comes from an instinct of basic ego. A person, no one wants to fail in life. So what makes you not want to fail? Your ego, your good ego, your instinct to the pride that keeps you alive, that keeps you going. So essentially, if you don't care to fail, that means that you're insulting your deepest core of essence. That instinct of gava, that neshama that's in you, you're discarding. So when a person cares to do what's right, it's because his neshama is alive. And when he doesn't, it's because he's turned off completely. He's disconnected from himself.
Senses are off.
Completely. So that's where it comes from. So that triggers the yirah triggers the will to learn Torah, the chokhmah leads to the binah and to the action. That's imen yirah and chokhmah. Imen chokhmah and yirah. What does that mean? It says the yirah in itself, it's a vessel, it's a preparation.
It needs to be acted on.
That is there to allow you to fill yourself with chokhmah, right? Because that's at the end what you're going to be using. So if you have yirah and you don't have chokhmah, what's the point? It's like you have a vessel and it's empty. You have a beautiful crystal glass, a vase, a beautiful baccarat vase, but it's empty. I imagine that today they love the empty vase. They put it just for the vase, not for the. But that shows you that we are empty. Because the vase was made to put something in it, not to keep it culture, emptiness of the culture. So that's what the imen chokhmah and yirah. Right? The yirah is meaningless if you don't fill it with chokhmah. Meaning there is the domino effect that needs to always be engaged. And if you stop it, then you don't get to the finish line. You don't get anywhere. So this is why you need to push, to have that thirst, that desire, that crave for the chokhmah, and implement it and get them. Now, obviously, and he continues, he says, when you have binah, this is beautiful. He says, when you have binah, there is no element of the chokhmah that is irrelevant.
Because you could put it in a place.
It's all important.
You can place it somewhere.
It has its value. Exactly. At one point, somewhere, somehow, it will fit. But if you're dismissive and you say, this is important, this is not important, that's not bina. Then your chokhmah is not chokhmah also. He says this is imen bina, imen da'at and bina, imen bina and da'at. So the imen da'at and bina, he says the da'at is the practical application of the lessons from the bina that we got from the chokhmah, that we learned from the chokhmah. So he says, if you think, if men da'at, practically, everything can be used, right? It came from a practical angle. When he said, that's da'at. So he said, imen da'at, if you don't have the da'at, then you don't have the bina. Because that means that your bina has holes in it, and that's not bina.
Da'at is the last step.
The imen bina, obviously, and da'at, because the bina is what leads to the da'at. He says when, and he brings again the barometer. If he says you want to know if you have bina and if you have da'at, when you learn, see if everything is important or you're selective.
Right.
You're selective. If at the end of your shiur, if at the end of what you learn, there are parts that are not important, that miyutarot, it's extras. There's extras. You don't have the bina. You don't have the bina. You don't have the da'at.
Every letter has words.
Badai.
So if we look at that and we think that their pesukim that don't matter, then you're missing the point.
The pesukim or anything we're learning, everything we're learning. So comes Shlomo HaMelech and says, this is how you build yourself, but this is also how you find out where you hold, to make sure that every detail is important and everything you learn has a time and a place where it will be used at one point or another. Then he gives a I'm going to try to touch on it. It's a sod, a little bit of Kabbalah, but I'm going to try to touch on it. He says, we addressed 5 things. Chokhmah, Bina, Da'at, Torah, the learning of Torah, and the Maaseh, the actions, the mitzvot, right? These are the 5 things we addressed. Now he says, in each and every one of it, you have Imen Chokhmah and Yerad. So there's 2. Bina, ze Da'at. Da'at, ze Bina. The Torah brings the Maaseh, and the Maaseh brings the Torah. So it's each one is essentially connected to the other one, so it's 2. So there's 10 of them. And he says, and these are again the Asara Devarim. Chamisha Pnimiyut veChamisha Chitzoniyot. Says that the man has internal organs and outside members of the body. He says you have the brain, you have the heart, you have the lungs, you have the throat, and you have the sound, the voice, the cordial voice. That's what's inside. The outside, you have the eyes, the ears, the mouth, the hands, and the legs. So he says, the chokhmah feeds the chokhmah feeds the brain and feeds the eyes. The chokhmah feeds the brain and feeds the eyes. This is what's
coming.
The bina is the lev, binat halev. The bina touches the heart and it touches the ears. The lungs is the da'at. And it touches the mouth. The mouth. That's the da'at. The klayot, the kidneys, is the yadayim, the hands. Okay? Which is the Torah. And the voice, the garon, the throat, are the legs, and it's against the mitzvot. That's how he organizes it. So you have the heart, which is the brain, the chokhmah, which is the eyes. So, right, because you have internal and external. So the eyes are connected to the brain, which is impacted by the chokhmah. Incredible. Spectacular. Then, incredible. I have shivers. Okay. I even think I was going to touch this subject, but okay. Then you have the heart, which is the eyes, which is the bina, the analysis.
Also the eyes. The chokhmah.
It was 9. The ears. The ears.
The da'at is the mouth.
The da'at is the mouth and the lungs. The Torah, the wisdom of the Torah. Okay, the Torah, not the chokhmah. The Torah itself, okay, is the yadayim, right? Is the actions, which is how to act. Okay, and it's against the kidneys. And we know that where did Avraham Avinu learn his Torah? From his klayot, from his kidneys, right? Chachamim teach us, the Chachamim tell us that Avraham Avinu learned Torah from his kidneys. His kidneys taught him Torah. And the mitzvot, which is the progress, are the legs and the throat. The throat is what connects the body to the head. As Tavin Yirat Hashem, this is how you will understand the importance, the role, the place of fearing HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And you will find the da'at, the wisdom, yeah, the knowledge to be able, the da'at to be able to learn and dive in the depths of the knowledge of the Sodot of the Torah. Ki Hashem iten chokhmah, and we will finish with this. Ki Hashem iten chokhmah, Hashem will give the chokhmah, mipi, from his mouth, da'at u'tvuna. He says, Ki Hashem iten chokhmah. He said, when you do those 5 things, the chokhmah, the binah, the da'at, the Torah, and the maaseh, if you do your part, iten chokhmah. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give you the chokhmah.
Without siyata d'shmaya, you have no shot.
And from his mouth comes the da'at and the tvuna. He says, he said, I will not say more. If you understand, you understand. Comes the nefesh ha'chaim and Rabbi Yerucham, and he says, mipiv da'at u'tvuna, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives the neshama from where? ויפח באפיו נשמת חיים, ויהיה אדם לנפש חיה, לרוח במעלה. מן דנפח מדין לנפח. HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings the neshama from his mouth, right? He blows, and by blowing, that's what gave us the neshama. So, if you do your part, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will reveal his chokhmah, and he will give you, it will enhance your neshama, which is the da'at and the tefuna, to be able to now bring everything to reality. It's like the end product, the finished product. You do your part, and the finished product is what? Is the chokhmah that you're exposed to, and your ability of da'at and tefuna. So essentially, when you think about it, the chokhmah that you learn is a reflection of your efforts. So the more, if you're exposed to good chokhmah, that means your chokhmah, bina, vada'at, Torah, u'maaseh are good.
If it's shallow.
But if it's shallow, if it's not emet, it's exactly. So another barometer to know where you belong. Depending on how emet and how deep and how real your Torah is, you can know where you belong in the five aspects of in the 5 prerequisites, efforts that you need to them. And then on the chokhmah, anyways, you know how it touches you. It touches your eyes, it touches your brain, it touches your heart, your kidneys. And he does, the Gaon doesn't dive so much into it, but each aspect has a direct impact on those physical members, internal and external. So Baruch Hashem, I think it was bombastic enough for today.
Thank you. Thank you, Rav.
Baruch Hashem. Tov.
Andy, you look like me in the car.
ולך בך בדרך.